Welcome back to module number 3. In this module, I'm going to focus on how to build your corporate deck. We have created a pitch deck template for you to use, which will make life much easier. The purpose of this pitch deck template is to ensure that you have all the information that is needed to tell your business story successfully. You may want to change it a bit to suit your personal style, which is fine, but please ensure that you follow the pattern that has been recommended. Some pointers in how to ensure that your pitch deck is clear to your audience in terms of your design templates, in terms of the fonts you use, and in terms of your communication, right? So what I went through in module number 2, please use all those principles when you are actually writing your presentation. The deck that we have shared with you has 12 slides. Do not exceed this number because you normally have about 6 to 8 minutes to do your pitch. Some of the incubators insist on a one slide deck as well. So keep your presentation short. If people need more information, you can always have a set of backup slides available with you, or you could mail them the necessary data and Excel sheets. But keep your presentation short. Never exceed the time. Always work within the time given to you. And as I mentioned, always make it a minute less when you're preparing. Slide 1 is an introduction to your company. And here you talk about your company's customers. So if you're B2C, then your customer. And if it is B2B, your customer's customer. I always like you to use a human face on this slide because it just makes the whole thing come alive. And this is the slide during which you do your little narrative and icebreaker, where you talk about, on a personal level, why you're looking or why you started this particular enterprise. So it sort of serves as a very nice introduction to the rest of the presentation. In slide 2, we talk about the value proposition, and this is very critical. We have discussed the value proposition in great depth, and you need to articulate this in 30 seconds. Right? So this is the discipline of the value proposition that I'd like all of you to practice. In addition, on this slide, please talk about your core team members, the founders and co-founders of this company, as well as any maybe a CTO or any other core team members who are essential for the running of your organization. Now, people are not looking for an entire biodata of the people involved. So just a name, a designation, and their role in the company with a line on relevant experience. So maybe 3 lines, very short and very crisp is what this slide calls for. Keep a detailed CV as part of your addendum slides. So if people ask, you can always show that to them. A good picture of each of your founders and co-founders. I cannot tell you how important it is to invest in a good photograph, which gives a sort of professional look to the whole presentation. I've given you details in the next 2 slides about how to build your value proposition, right? So I've explained this sufficiently, but I just thought I'd put it here so you have everything in one place. The next slide completes your introduction. So treat the first 3 slides as a visiting card about yourself. Here you need to show in a form of a timeline what you have achieved since you came into being. If you're early stage, what stage your idea or your ideation process is in. If you're at MVP stage or commercialization stage, what have you achieved? Have you raised any funding? And details like that. Now, this is very important. If you won any accolades, if you've been covered in media, it's very important because this slide adds to the credibility of your presentation. A lot of people ask me why I insist on putting the value proposition first. And what I do tell them is that you have those 30 seconds, remember, before your audience loses interest. And if you don't get into their mind space, you lose them and they don't listen to the rest of your presentation. So it's always good practice to introduce yourself first, add that little story which becomes a human, makes it all come alive, makes it more human, and then get into details of your enterprise. Slide 4 talks about the problem that you're trying to solve, right? Because the first thing your audience wants to know is why you have come into being and what is this problem that you are going to solve for your consumer. Try and make this as large as possible, add data, and make this problem a very credible, real one. Don't bring your solution in here at all. So you're setting up, this is your setup slide for your solution. So you don't introduce the heroine in the first frame of the film, do you? It comes after a build-up, right? So this is the build-up to introducing your solution, which comes on slide number 5. Try and make this solution as interesting as possible graphically, and see that it supports your problem. So when you set up your problem and you talk about a possible solution, which it doesn't refer to you, then your solution kind of solves that problem. So this is the logic part I spoke about when you're setting up your story. Try and use infographics, try and make it as explicit as possible. Do not use too many words here, and do not presume that your audience either knows about your solution or is even interested in it. Another favorite question in all these pitches is, who is your competition? There are 2 types of competition that you need to address. So one is your direct competition, people in doing the exact same thing as you are. And there is another competitor who's equally important, which is your indirect or asymmetric competition. And this is important for you to address because in today's world of technology, it is very, very easy to compete with anybody. Look at the Amazon story. They compete with everybody in every category. I have found that this petal diagram is a very neat way of depicting your competition. It also helps you focus. You can also use a 2x2 matrix, or you can use a chart, which is my third choice. Try and see whether you can use this pictorial representation of your competition. It makes it much more visually appealing. If you've already been in business, this is not for early stage startups. If you've already been in business, please do add any customer testimonials here that you may have. I would avoid using a video because you would lose a lot of time. Possibly a photograph, a name, and a quote from the person or organization would lend a lot of credibility to your pitch. So you're saying we have a lovely solution and our customers think so too, right? Now, please remember, you need to get permission from your customers unless it's in the public domain to use a quote, to use their photograph and their logo. Please be very, very careful about this. In case you're not able to get the permission, you can disguise the name or not use an exact name. So there would be less credibility, but then you would be safe from any legal suits. Please be very careful about this, especially organizations. They're very, very uncomfortable when their logos and names are used without permission. The last module of your pitch deck needs to talk about your future plans. And there are 3 pillars on which I want you to build your vision of the future. Is it profitable? Is it scalable? And is it sustainable? Right? Now, do not try and make generic 30,000 foot statements. Be very specific on your vision for the future. Yes, you can be a little futuristic and say, okay, this is what we're planning to do 3 years down the line. Don't go beyond that and make it sound like you're going to change the world. You immediately lose your credibility. So ensure that your vision is doable and it is very practical. How are you going to achieve that vision is very, very important. One of the interesting tools that you may want to look at is this model that I have put up, the TAM, SAM, and SOM model. Please do look at it carefully. It's very interesting, provided you can define your audiences carefully. This is also important for you to know because we never define our audiences carefully and we say it's a $10 billion market. We're talking about everybody. Please narrow it down. We are not going to deliver our goods and services to the entire universe. We are going to deliver it to a particular segment of that universe. And this is what this model helps you to narrow down on. Slide number 9 talks about how you can scale up. Now, this again is based on your vision. This has to be as specific as possible, looking at whether you're going to do it through technology, whether you're going to do it through collaborations, whether you're going to do it through mergers, whatever it is you're going to do. And this gives you a very clear GTM or go-to-market strategy. I'm very, very focused on these 2 slides because it helps you in a way, not just for the pitch deck, but it also helps you with your value proposition to build your business plan, right? It helps you to understand where you want to go. And if you have a very clear GTM strategy with timelines, you can actually use it to run your business very, very successfully. There are 3 pillars for building these financial projection charts. You have profitability, you have scalability, and you have sustainability. So my advice to you is, while the numbers are important and you need to carry that with you in the form of your Excel sheets and workbooks, the way you present the data is also equally important. So don't just cut and paste from your Excel workbook into your slide deck. It makes no sense to anybody but yourself. Try and understand the data and visualize it and present it to your audience in a way that makes sense for them. I have included some metrics that you may want to use or which are used to assess startups. Importantly, the break-even point is one of them, and also the customer pipeline, particularly in the B2B business. It's very important that you have a robust pipeline of customers as you go along your entrepreneurial journey. And when you project your revenues, please ensure that the revenues are projected on a very robust customer base. Try and visualize your data. Please use graphs. Please use charts. Please use pie diagrams to visualize your data. All your backup data should be available separately, but not necessarily in this presentation. So when you're making a presentation to, say, a VC, you would go a little into depth, more into depth in this space than you would to a general audience. Slide 11 talks about your ask, both financially and in terms of mentoring support. Right? So there is an ask financially, which is not necessarily from NSRCEL. It would be to your investors. So there is a financial ask, and there is an ask for knowledge inputs and mentoring and networking, which NSRCEL can provide. All right. So let's look at 3 concepts which I'd like you to familiarize yourself with. Once you have done your financial planning, you have something called a burn rate. That is the amount of money that you spend every month to run your company. the kind of money that is available to you, how many months money do you have? So do you have a runway of 6 months or 8 months or 9 months? And therefore, is there a gap in your requirements? And that would be your financial ask. Investors also want to see how you will use that money wisely. So a pie chart is always included in this piece to tell them how you're going to use their money, what you're going to use their money for. So this is an important thing. I am going to run a workshop on this and how to present your data. The second workshop covers the whole area of financial projections and how you present it to your consumer. I have enclosed or included a few charts that you can use to calculate your revenues, your sales, and your costs. Please do use them. The final slide is your sign-off slide, and this is where I would like you to repeat the visual that you used on slide 1. Remember, people's memories are very short. An edited form of your value proposition so that people remember you. And finally, your call to action, that is your contact details. Now, you don't need to put all your contact details, including your physical address here, just a phone number and a mail ID with the person's name in it, not info@so-and-so, but say Shamala@so-and-so, right? So please ensure there is that degree of personalization. Keep it short. You don't need to give all the details on the slide, just 2 things about where people can reach you in case they need to and they're interested. The third assignment, which you will need to complete and submit, is the first draft of your pitch deck, right? So we are looking only at slides 1 to 7 here. A sample, I have taken you through the way the pitch deck is structured. We will also provide a sample pitch deck which you can use. So we will provide you with the pitch deck template that you can use to fill in details about your organization. So please fill up slides 1 to 7 and submit it on the platform. Once we have this, we have our 2 workshops where we can fill in all the other details, and then you can complete your pitch deck. But you need a lot more input on a personal basis from me before you can do that. So right now, we will stay with slides 1 to 7. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And I hope you found this module very useful. Good day.